Captain Jack here. The Super Nintendo is one of the most popular systems of all time, spawning plenty of famous franchises that got their start here, and even sequels that changed the gaming landscape forever. With that comes plenty of Romhacks, which are modifications you can make to a pre-existing game that changes it. These range from minor bug fixes, character swap-ins, or even complete overhauls to the original game. RomHacking.net is a great catalog for finding these, and you can sort by the number of downloads. So we'll be taking a journey to visit the literally measurable most popular Super Nintendo ROM hacks. Here are the top 50 SNES ROM hacks of all time. Shin Megami Tensei Automap lets you open the map in the first Shin Megami Tensei by pressing the L or R buttons instead of having to go to the menu. That's it. It's a nice feature, sure, but are people playing this game enough for it to appear in the top 50 like this? Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels Enhanced remakes all of Mario's forgotten sequel in the engine of Super Mario World using the graphics of Super Mario All-Stars. That's a lot of Marios in one sentence. If you want to try Mario All-Stars version of the Lost Levels with more modern Super Mario World physics, this one's for you. Final Fantasy VI The Eternal Crystals brings new music, events, and characters to Final Fantasy VI. At its core, it's still the same game and story, but there's a lot of additions. The Kremling's Revenge is surprisingly the only Donkey Kong Country hack to make it in the top 50, and it's a complete new level set with harder difficulty. It's the first major DKC hack ever released, and it looks tricky at first, but you get the hang of it pretty quickly. Super Mario World The Lost Adventure Episode 2 is part of a series of 3 pretty comprehensive Super Mario World hacks with custom music, bosses, levels, graphics, and more. This one kinda has an undead theme, and it goes above and beyond, even over Episode 1. But that first episode is already pretty loved, as you'll see here eventually. Metroid Legacy is a pretty early Super Metroid hack, by far the earliest to make it to the top 50, but it manages to hold its own. It doesn't have any fancy new tile sets or adjusted physics, it's just a great new world using the pre-existing graphics, and its medium difficulty makes it approachable. By the way, if you see the hack counter jump, it's not an error. 1 or 2 of the hacks early on this list are just minor improvements of more famous hacks in the top 10. I'll just be including them with the more famous ones as they get mentioned. FF5R is one of the rare Final Fantasy V hacks and the only one on this list. It's basically a remixed Master Quest version of the game with some custom elements thrown in here and there. Make sure you get the extra patch that translates FF5R into English unless you want a really hard time. Super Ghouls and Ghost Restoration restores the religious imagery and original names found in the Japanese version. It also alleviates most of the slowdown found here, making it easily the definitive way to play this game. The NTSC patch for Terranigma lets the game run at 60 FPS, instead of the native 50 FPS that the PAL version runs at. As you may know, this game was only released in English in PAL territories, but nowadays there are plenty of other ways to play PAL games at 60 FPS. It does speak to just how many North American players wanted to play this game. Hyper Metroid brings heightened difficulty to Super Metroid along with an amazing new darker world to experience. The new color palette for Samus looks great, and there are plenty of small mechanical tweaks to the movement as well. Chrono Trigger Bug Fix and Uncensoring Patch is the most literal name for a ROM hack to ever be conceived, fixing bugs like problems with the targeting AI and uncensoring religious and alcoholic references from the American release. Nothing more to it, literally what it says on the box. Mega Man X1 Proto Edition replaces Mega Man with Proto Man in the original Mega Man X. It's pretty comprehensive with all the graphics being changed and a new charge shot being added. And it's all basically a harder difficulty mode as he has less health than Mega Man. Oh No More Zombies Ate My Neighbors has a lot going for it beyond the funny name. The only hack of Zombies Ate My Neighbors to make it in the top 50, it's a complete new level set for the game along with a few tweaks here and there. It's more Zombies Ate My Neighbors, no questions asked. Hyper Street Kart gives Super Mario Kart a Street Fighter coat of paint. The sprite work is actually pretty good, and the tracks have some nice palette changes, but I didn't realize how much of a market for a Mario Kart Street Fighter crossover there was. Another uncensored hack, Super Castlevania 4 Uncensored keeps up the trend by reversing changes Nintendo of America did while originally localizing the game. I didn't realize how extensive the damage was here though. Crosses removed in a Castlevania game? Mortal Kombat 2 Hidden Character characters playable is another easy to understand hack, allowing for the characters Smoke, Noob Saibot, and Jade to be pickable in the character selection screen with special codes. Now, they were technically already playable in the original version of this game, but they only had a few moves, so this hack goes ahead and gives them full movesets and specials so they play just like other characters. Chrono Trigger Prophet's Guile is a completely new short adventure that happens during the events of the original game. It tells the story of Magus after his defeat at the hands of Chrono and his friends. It's pretty short, coming in at maybe an hour or so, but the quality here is outstanding. Link to the Past DX brings some quality of life improvements to Link's Super Nintendo outing. Things like reduced slowdown, LNR item switching, being able to smash pots with your sword, stuff like that. Super Mario Bros. Enhanced, just like Lost Levels Enhanced, gives you those all-star graphics with Super Mario World physics in Mario's original side-scrolling journey. I would argue that this is the better way to play Super Mario Bros. On the SNES, as the all-star physics just didn't feel right. Conker's Hyrule Tale is a pretty incredible hack. It might be modifying Link to the Past, but it's completely its own entity. With a wacky story, plenty of references to other series, and changed items, music, characters, it would be easier to name the things not changed here, honestly. Final Fantasy IV Naming Way Edition is kind of an uncensoring patch, but it goes above and beyond, with a remastered script and name changes to match the Japanese original. There's also some additional options, like being able to correctly title the game Final Fantasy IV without changing the Western title graphic. Come on, it's cooler. It's a sword. Metroid Phazon Hack 0.3, yes, that's the official name, has you play as Dark Samus in an adventure that's actually pleasantly easy. It's also a complete graphical overhaul, giving the game a colder, metallic feel. Star Fox EX is maybe the first, and to this day, the only Star Fox hack ever to be released. It does more than I can even say in a short soundbite, but everything is modifiable here by you. From new ships, game modes, and an entirely additional star system with new levels to explore. And this one's currently in active development, so it's always changing. Super Mario World Just Keef Edition is maybe the most poorly named ROM hack of all time, which is unfortunate really, because the quality here is amazing. No, Mario doesn't race to the dispensary in this one. It's sort of a deluxe edition of Super Mario World with updated mechanics, new paths, and plenty of new dinosaurs. Seriously, this guy really wanted people to remember it's called Dinosaur Land for a reason. Super Mario Kart 8 is a newer Super Mario Kart hack, which means the tracks are actually modified. It gives everything a sorta Mario Kart 8 theme, but it doesn't stick too close to either game, with the tracks really being their own awesome creations. Kaizo Mario World 1 is the classic Kaizo hack for Super Mario World. It's actually the first hack to ever use the word Kaizo. You know, I'd tell you more about it, but I literally can't get past the first level. Definitely lives up to the name. Grump's Dream Course is a full level set for Kirby's Dream Course, a game where you basically play mini golf with Kirby as your ball. As you might have guessed, this hack was created for Game Grumps back in the day, but it's still the only comprehensive hack for this game. Return of the Dark Sorcerer is an absolutely giant reimagining of Final Fantasy VI. It's another one of those hacks that I can't even begin to say what's being changed here, but having Final Fantasy VII characters in the mix really changes things up. Super Mario RPG Revolution is basically a difficulty hack for Super Mario RPG. There are some timing changes and some new enemies thrown in here and there, but it's basically a Game Plus mode. New Super Mario World gives Super Mario World a makeover to better match the newer 2D Mario games. The graphics are sometimes inconsistent, but always interesting. The game is for the most part unchanged Mario levels, but there are a few new levels here and there, and the new music is definitely interesting, with Sonic and Crash Bandicoot songs in the mix. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 Deluxe gives you the ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 experience on the SNES. With additional characters playable and background graphics restored, it's probably the best way to play Mortal Kombat on a 16-bit console. Super Mario Kart R is by far the most famous Super Mario Kart hack. This one gives all the tracks an excellent graphical makeover, as well as replacing Toad with Kirby, of all people. It was made in a time when the course layouts couldn't be changed too much beyond some additional shortcuts, but you'll hardly notice as you cruise down those excellent night highways. Chrono Trigger Plus focuses on adding cut content equipment from Chrono Trigger back into the game. There's a couple Easter eggs thrown in here as well, and a lot of optional patches to customize your experience. Super Metroid Redux is basically a collection of quality of life improvement hacks put into one bundle. The best things here are the control changes. Things like the missiles being selectable with the L button really brings the controls of Super Metroid up to par with the GBA titles. Final Fantasy VI Brave New World makes FF6 way more varied, adding lots of strengths and weaknesses to all the characters, while preventing the mechanics of the game from being exploited. The whole point here is to prevent being able to breeze through Final Fantasy VI by mindlessly smashing A, and Brave New World definitely accomplishes that goal. Super Metroid Redesign, which definitely isn't Super Metroid Redux, is another retooling of the classic Super Metroid formula while maintaining the identity of the original game. It's hard to really tell these two hacks apart sometimes, but Super Metroid Redesign is definitely older, and although it may lack some of the finer improvements of Redux, it has a pretty heavy Samus, with the floaty jumps being gone, which is a surprisingly nice feature. It feels good. Super Mario World Lost Adventure Episode 1 is a crazy overhaul that definitely focuses on variety and lots of crossovers. It has just about custom everything too. The fact that not one, but two episodes of this ROM hack trilogy are in the top 50 definitely speaks to its quality. Mega Man Z takes Mega Man X and replaces Mega Man with Zero, but there aren't really any changes to speak of beyond the graphical replacement. I guess people really wanted to play as Zero, huh? Super Mario World Return to Dinosaur Land may be the most famous Super Mario World hack, and for good reason. It has excellent level design all the way through while still giving out fresh ideas, even without adding any additional tile sets or mechanics. It's fair too, only slightly harder than the original game, making this hack a great place to start. Link to the Past Redux is basically an improved version of Link to the Past DX. It's even more improvements for Link to the Past. Things like graphical tweaks to match the artwork for the game and a completely new translation. There's even an option to add an FMV opening cutscene to the game. Maybe the Nintendo PlayStation wasn't so far-fetched after all. Final Fantasy IV Ultima is sort of a deluxe edition for Final Fantasy IV. All the stops have been pulled out here, with dozens of new spells, weapons, and side quests. There's a Game Plus mode, a boss rush mode, it's just more FF4 for the obsessed. Zelda the Goddess of Wisdom and its remake takes Link to the Past and turns it into an entirely new adventure. The difficulty is just about right, and it's chock full of new, interesting puzzles. It may be short and doesn't really have a story, but sometimes being short and sweet is better. Don't let the word Kaizo scare you. Learn to Kaizo is a great hack. It slowly introduces you to the world of Super Mario World Kaizo ROM hacks by spoon-feeding you key concepts one small level at a time. The difficulty curve will eventually get to you though. Metroid Zero Super Mission remakes the original Metroid story with Super Metroid mechanics, so you'll be exterminating Mother Brain and her Metroids for the first time all over again. It keeps quite a bit of Super Metroid here, with the newer power-ups and signature long length of Super Metroid intact. Final Fantasy VI Ted Woosley Untranslated Edition tries something interesting. It keeps the original translated script by Ted Woosley, but introduces general bug fixes, uncensored content, and original item and enemy names into the mix. This original translation is special. Later versions of the game have a more drier, literal prose to it it's just not as fun. Now this is a Zero hack. Zero Project and its expansion hack puts Zero in Mega Man X3. With all his moves, air dashes, his sword, even cutscenes have been retooled so X takes Zero's place. This is exactly what you'd want a Zero hack to be. Zelda Parallel Worlds is the Link to the Past hack. A completely new game, essentially. Parallel Worlds manages to add new graphics, music, and layouts to make an almost sequel to the original. It almost tries what Majora's Mask was to Ocarina of Time, but to Link to the Past. It has a remodeled hack too that softens the difficulty a bit, but both versions are up to date. It's pretty easy to see why a hack like this would be number one. Well, we've made it through 50 SNES ROM hacks. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more lists like this. I usually release bi-weekly. What was your favorite hack on this list? Let me know in the comments below. See you next time.